Okay. There was now the third possibility. The third case in the juristic books is mentioned regarding ittihadu safaqa. They say that ittihadul jami siwas saman وهذا لا يتصور فيكون مع تعدد البي مبي. So what they say that this third situation is not possible, but it is an exceptional case. They say that it is not possible that seller must be one, subject matter must be one, and the buyer must be one, but the prices are more than one. They say that this situation is not possible with, but it is possible with multiple subject matters. If subject matters commodities are more than one, then the more than one prices can be quoted for the ittihadus safaqa. For ittihadus safaqa, if a question in your mind is being raised, that if a person says that the more than one prices can be quoted for a single subject matter, and that is that cash price and the credit price. So this is possible, but it will not remain ittihadus safaqa. It will be considered, and other we will discuss in the next slides that which terminology will be applied for that type of transaction. So this is not possible here. So this situation is not possible without multiple subject matters. For example, the jurist also quoted the example in this case that كأن قال بعتهما ب100 فقال قبلت أحدهما ب60 والآخر ب40 وذلك يكون صفقة واحدة أيضا. So this is the here translation you will see in the bottom of this line, that I sold you these two goods for 100. Buyer said, I bought one thing out of these two for 60 rupee and the second thing for 40 rupee. Then it would be considered unified transaction. So they say that because the seller disclosed one price, and that was 100. But at the time of acceptance, the buyer quoted two prices, and he said that I buy this commodity for 60 rupee and I buy that second commodities for 40 rupees. So here two prices has become considered. Two prices, because there were the two subject matters. So it is the example here that more than one prices can be quoted, but it is possible in case of more than one commodities. Then we will say that hazihi safaqatun wahida. This will be considered unilateral transaction. This will be considered ittihadu safaqa. But the buyer is not allowed to say that, okay, I just bought the commodity for 60 rupee and I am not going to buy the commodity for 40 rupee. I'm not. He cannot reject, he cannot partially accept this offer. He is not allowed to do that. Why he can't do that? Because the jurist here describes a rationale. They say that sometimes and we see in the business customary practices that the seller usually they join they sell they have, if they have a commodity, inferior commodity, and they want to sell it and they see that it is not being sold, the people are not going to demand it, then they add that commodity with a superior commodity, with a good quality commodity, and they add with it and they adjust its price. But what how they do that? They actually, what they do, they actually reduce a few rupees from the price of a high quality good, and they add this the inferior good with that, and this they they quote one unique price, and they say that, okay, I sell it for you 100 rupee. So the buyer, when he see that offer, he said that it is irrational because the superior good is also here, and the second thing is also here. I will get along with this superior good, so it will be good for me. So he demands that commodity. The jurist says if we allow buyer to partially accept uh, the only superior commodity, and he reject, if we allow the buyer to reject the partial contract into the inferior commodity, then it will be darar, it will be harm, it will be darar to the seller, because he will face loss, he will face the loss in case that because he have reduced the price of his superior good, and the buyer will say that I will buy this superior good on this less price. It will give two losses to the seller. One is a reduction of price of high quality good, and other that he could not sell his inferior good. So that is why if he offered in this way, then buyer is not allowed to partially reject this offer. Yes, it does not mean that commodity cannot be sold or purchased separately. Then the buyer have to request the seller that he makes an other offer, because the buyer wants to buy only one commodity, and that is a superior commodity. So he should have make an other offer for the superior commodity only, not to include inferior commodity in that offer. Then they can sign the contract. But if the offer is this, that I sold you these two goods for 100 rupee, then buyer is not allowed to partially reject that commodity. So what are the basic here? There are the two principle is, look at here into the green area here. في اتحاد الصفقة لا يثبت للآكد حق ترديد في صورة تعدد المبيع. That in unified transaction, buyer has no right to partially reject the contract in case of multiple subject matters. So there are more than two subject matters. So here he is not allowed to reject the contract, to reject the offer in one contract, in one commodity, and accept another commodity. Why he can't do that? I have just explained that the jurist says that it is darar, it is harming of to the seller, so it is not possible. Okay. The second one is fil bai'i as-safqatu wahidatun fa iza batalat fil ba'di batalat fil kull. So Imam Sarakhsi, the Hanafi elite scholar, he says that in such a case, if the sale is partially nullified, then it will be considered nullified into the complete transaction. You can't say that partially it is allowed and partially I'm not going to sell it. No, it will not be considered. If offer is made in that way, then it must be complete in that way. It is not possible for the buyer to partially accept it or to partially reject it. So this is ittihadus safaqa.